All right, good evening, everyone. It's a beautiful spring day in Barron County, Glasgow. I'll call the regular scheduled April 26, 2022 meeting of the Glasgow Electric Plant Board to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion we approve the agenda.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda as handed out. All in favor?
Aye.
Second item is the minutes. They've been electronically sent to every board member. Any changes or deletions or additions to the minutes?
Go ahead.
Well, I'll make a motion we approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Second that motion.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes as mailed out. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is the community relief funding. We've talked about this before. I don't think this is on our agenda monthly, but who's going to address that tonight?
Yeah, so I'm going to turn it over to Melanie, but what we're looking at is just a reallocation of the community relief funding to the agencies that we give to. So with that, I'll turn it over to Melanie Reed to walk through what we're proposing.
So you've got just a one-page information here. Basically, I don't know if you all, or Marlon, if you remember, it's been almost a couple of years ago now that it was voted to take part of that pandemic credit and give that back to the customers. So $4,500 was the amount that was agreed upon, and we decided at that time to give it to the Community Relief Fund. We didn't want to have to do all the vetting for customers in. They can already do that, so we just send them the money and let them take care of it and then send the vouchers back to us.
And the money's going to customers that are having trouble paying their bills,
Correct.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, and the agreement was that it would only be spent for electric service. So they can't use it for cable or internet, it's just for their electric service. And so we've been watching that last year. About this time, we came back to you just to let you know how it was going. Thought then we still need to continue $4,500, continued it with community relief. And so we're looking at it again a year later. And if you look there, there's a little over 3-year graphic there of the amounts that we have been giving to community relief and then the total vouchers that we have received back from them. There was a time period there, the end of 2020, 1st of 21, after the governor released where we couldn't do any cutoffs or anything, and then the governor said, okay, now you can do it. So we had a lot of customers that owed a lot of money at that time, so community relief was giving out vouchers in large amounts. So that's where those high months came from.
Yeah, so there's like 4 months in a row, November of 2020 through February of 2021, where a lot of money was given out each month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct. Other than those months, you can see that we are not receiving anywhere near the $4,500 back from community relief. And I've got there the 3-year average, and of course that does include those 4 large months, is $3,000. So what we would propose, when I say we, the customer service group, would be to continue $4,500, but to give $3,000 to community relief and then give the $1,500 to another agency. And we would like to partner with Bridge Kentucky. Down there in the bottom right, you can see the average that we receive from Bridge Kentucky and then from Salvation Army. So this would just give them more funds to be able to help our customers. And they are very good to work with. Customers don't have a difficult time going through that process with Bridge, Kentucky. With Community Relief, there's a lot of paperwork. So this would just be an easier way for customers to get help, to get assistance. Again, it's going to come back to us, you know, no matter who we give that to. But we just feel like this would be, I guess, a quicker way for customers to get assistance if we do go to multiple agencies.
So is there any questions on what we're proposing? Basically, again, the dollar amount would remain the same at $4,500, but we would be allocating $3,000 to Community Relief and $1,500 to Bridge, Kentucky.
And I do want to say, I think Dave's been informed that that pandemic credit is going to slowly go away. So we will continue to look at this. So there may be a point where we say we don't want to do 4,500 anymore, we need to reduce that, and we'll let you know.
But for
now, I
this
think
year,
it's still going to be a little,
for
right,
another
quite
year
some
at
time
least.
before.
Yeah.
When someone applies for help, or whatever you want to call it, to pay their electric bill, does that absolve them of paying any part of their bill, or do we match part of it, or we pay it all?
They only get assistance on their electric. So the agency will send us some forms to fill out. Depending on what agency is, they want different information. And then they'll go through their process, and they may pay the entire electric portion. They may pay more than that, so the customer actually has credit going forward for their electric. But anything other than electric, the customer is still responsible to pay.
I don't think we should be in the business of vetting
Right.
these people. I totally agree with that. But have we vetted Community Relief enough to know that they're being responsible with these funds? Are you confident that that's...
Yes,
That they
we
have-
get reports from them,
Okay.
actually monthly, and Wade can speak to that, he used to take care of that. They give us information monthly on their financials, and of course, we get the vouchers, so we know how much money is being spent and what the balance is that's left. And they also have auditors and, you know, accountants that take care of everything, and I work with them anytime we need information. So yes, we're confident that they are doing what they're supposed to with that money.
Now, I see Community Relief and Bridge at the top, and then I see Bridge at the bottom plus Salvation Army, so I'm not sure I understand.
Those two at the bottom, those are just other agencies that would be available. You know, we could give part of it to Salvation Army if you wanted to. Talking with the folks in customer service, they like working with the people at Bridge, Kentucky, and they seem to get more assistance for customers from Bridge, Kentucky. So they preferred to use Bridge, Kentucky over Salvation Army. Like I said, we can give some to both, you know, if that's what the board would want to do.
That little box on the lower right-hand side is essentially saying that, on average, Salvation Army is helping our customers to the tune of $300 a month, roughly right now, and Bridge, Kentucky is helping them on average at $735 a month, and that's without any money coming from us. They're funding that from other sources, helping our customers to that level from other sources.
And these funds that, you know, what I've listed here, that's just showing you how much we've given to Community Relief. So that would be on top of any other donations or, you know, any grants, anything that they receive. Our $4,500 is on top of that. So the true amount that they have for electric assistance, I don't have on here.
Yeah. I'm not sure, Melanie, I understand what you mean. You said customer service, that's the plant board's customer service.
Correct, yes.
All right, so why do they like Bridge again? They may explain that to me a little bit.
They are very good to work with. The process for customers, to be able to get assistance is not nearly as difficult as some other places. So they can go and they don't have to have as much paperwork. A lot of times they have to go and they have to provide, income they've had for the last month, receipts that they have for the last month, bills that they have to provide them with a lot of paperwork to be able to get any assistance. With Bridge Kentucky, they are still doing that, but it's just not to the extent that the others are. And they have a good working relationship with Bridge Kentucky.
To the extent that we're giving money away to people, I think the agencies that do more due diligence is a good thing, actually. Would I be wrong about that or not?
To a certain extent, I would say that's true. On the other hand, we also want to create an avenue that's as easy for customers to work with us as possible as well. And it's a balancing act. The Bridge Kentucky, is it a locally formed? Yeah. So that was the other reason for really targeting Bridge Kentucky with some funds, is that it's a locally created and run organization.
And that is the group that got the money, you all probably remember, from TVA as well. They do receive $10,000 from TVA, Bridge Kentucky. They applied.
That comes from about $50,000 a month rebate from TVA.
We get about $20,000 to $25,000 per month, just for this pandemic credit.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
a portion of that has been set aside specifically for this.
This like the black line, Melanie, that's 4,500 in what we've donated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's strictly for electricity,
Right.
but what we're getting in is not nearly as much. I mean, where are those vouchers going? Or what's
So that
happening?
money's just held. They just hold on to that money. Of course, you see like those 4 months,
Yeah.
then they spent
Yeah.
a majority of that it was sitting there in their pot of funds. So, yeah, anything, and that's what the one amount there, this is just an estimated, what we've given there on the left, and then what we've received so far. So they would still have a balance going forward. So if we said, okay, starting in June, we're not going to give 4,500, we're going to give 3,000, they still have a large balance just sitting in that fund to be able to give out.
So eventually, the goal of even community relief is the money that we give them to give out to customers all does come back
Right.
to us.
Mhm.
And Bridge Kentucky is the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But the average has been that they've been really only $3,000 a month, so that balance has been building. And Bridge Kentucky is helping our customers to the tune of $735 without any money coming from us. So
Well, it comes back to us because we're now getting paid for electricity that was consumed
Correct.
yeah,
That would have been
and not
an expense
paid
to
for.
us.
paid for, right?
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know, that seems kind of odd to me, but would Bridge be interested in making a short presentation to the board about their process of what they do, and maybe community relief too?
I'm sure they would. Yeah, we can contact them.
I'd like to do that and have them, make a short presentation about their process of what they go through, and be okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think it's a good idea in terms of just them knowing who we are and us knowing who they are as well, just to put faces to names and things like that.
And Melody, just when you make that invitation, just let them know we're not trying to be critical. We don't want to be in their business. but
Right,
We
you
just
just
like
wanna understand
to,
how
part
it
of our
works.
due diligence.
Mhm.
So should we
We'll try that.
just not act on this then right now? Or
Yeah, we can hold on. I mean, we can just continue as is right now.
until next month?
I don't think you have to do anything. It's just an item on the agenda. If you take no action, you take no action. Just put it on the agenda next
Yeah.
month. And
All right.
decide
We'll
which one to
get
do better.
them here for the May meeting. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, the next item is EV charging stations. Dave, I think you're going to start out this presentation. and
Yeah.
we'll
So in
switch
your
over
packet,
later.
you've got basically a slide presentation that we just did it on handouts to go through TVA's EV fast charge program. And what we're going to be proposing is that the board approve up to $200,000 for this program, but the net cost to the plant board would be $40,000 because TVA provides 80% of the cost, and our responsibility would be 20%. So just so you know, as we go through, that's the ask and what we're looking at. So to get started, the TVA Fast Charger program is what the goal is, and with TVA from a federal level, and also the state of Kentucky is promoting something similar, but it's not the same program. The idea is to get EV fast chargers every 50 miles along the major corridors in the Tennessee Valley, and that's TVA's program. The state's program is different in that they're only targeting I-65, I-75, and I-71 right now. So Cumberland Parkway doesn't qualify as a location as far as the state's concerned. But in TVA's program, Cumberland Parkway does qualify, and so we're working with TVA on this project. So TVA would reimburse the local power company 80% of the total cost of the installation, not to exceed $300,000. And so that's would be TVA's reimbursement. Our project total is only $200,000, so what we're proposing is well within the TVA guideline. The contract, and I'd like you to speak to this a little bit, Wade. The contract is for 7 years with a 5-year minimum station operation. Give some details on that.
Sure. So what it is once you sign the contract with TVA, they pretty much threw in a 2-year buffer. As we all know, material shortages, things of that nature that may cause us a delay before we can get those installed and commissioned. So they want you to have a 2-year window there that you can get this completed by. Hopefully it's a lot shorter than that, but they allow you that 2 years before you commission it. And once it's commissioned, we operate it for a 5-year minimum. And after that, it would be back to the drawing board as far as what we want to do with that
We
station.
could sell it, or
You could, right. It'll be owned by the electric plant board, the actual charging stations.
Yeah.
And then it'll be up, upon that time what we decide to move forward with.
yeah. So for that contract term, we're obligated to own, operate it, and maintain it. But then after that, we could sell it or dismantle it if it's just not a thing. So that's the program. The next page, slide 3, is the cost outline of what we've come up with. What we're proposing is to install 2 DC fast chargers. They're the level 3 fast chargers, 480 volt. And the cost of those 2 chargers is $142,000. The site work and the make-ready work to accommodate those 2 chargers, with the concrete work and so on, and the work that we would have to do with our poles and adding transformers in the secondary and all of that, the allowance is $55,000. That's the estimate. So the total project cost is $197,000, which means our net cost would be $39,400. Now the reason that we'd like to get approved is $200,000 for the project is that when we order these fast chargers from ChargePoint, we're going to be paying for them. We're paying ChargePoint, and then we get a credit back for 80% of the cost later from TVA. So continuing on to the next slide, what we're proposing again is that we'll install the 2 level 3 480 volt DC fast chargers. And just some basic information on these vehicles is that the average vehicle range right now is 300 miles. A fast charger allows, again, this is current data that is changing as technology changes and improves. But right now the average vehicle range is roughly 300 miles. A fast charger would allow for a 250 mile charge in 30 minutes. And then the average cost to charge a the average rate being charged is $2.50 for 15 minutes of charging, or $10 an hour. So that's how the fast chargers work. Some of the site characteristics are that we're going to provide adequate space for at least one handicap van accessible. So it's going to be a fairly large parking spot. There'll be accommodations made for a wheelchair to exit the van and operate the station, so it's going to be level. We'll also have protection on the backside so that people wouldn't be, falling off the backside of if it's elevated. And then one of the other key components is that the station's going to provide plugs for multiple brand vehicles. Everything that's on the market right now, these charging stations would be able to charge, including Tesla, which has proprietary charging stations that others really can't connect to. When you see Tesla stations like at Meyer and other, they must have contracts with certain big box stores and things. The other key point is that the site will be capable of delivering 125 kW to a single vehicle, or 62.5 for two vehicles. So it's all can be going to one vehicle, which would be quite fast. I would think that you could probably fully charge it. Almost completely dead vehicles well within that 30 minutes, and probably less, maybe 20. And then the last is just a picture of where this picture was taken.
It was just a computer-generated model that TVA provided
Okay.
as part of the requirements for the size.
Okay, so there's dimensions on there. And
Correct.
so I think, the way I view this, and I've been pushing this, and Wade is taking the lead on the project, is that a couple things. One, as the local provider for the city of Glasgow, and with EV is being discussed across the country and across the world, I think it's somewhat incumbent on us as the local power company here in Glasgow to bring that technology and that ability to charge vehicles to the city. The other piece of that is that TVA is also promoting this, and they're providing, again, 80% of the funds to do this type of a project. And we are on one of the major corridors that go east-west on Cumberland Parkway. And so, we have a good spot here to do it. So that's basically the long and the short of it, and take questions, and then, ultimately we'd like to see if we can get approval so that we can get the charging stations ordered and get the project.
We're about on the Cumberland Parkway. I mean, specifically, do you have any idea of where it would be?
You just have to be located within a mile of the Cumberland Parkway. Obviously, you try to pick, a site that would be maybe close to restaurants or retail stores, or some attraction as to why, when the vehicle's charging, that the customer wouldn't necessarily have to sit there. They would have something else to do.
Yeah.
Seems to, the chargers located in those areas seem to be, utilized more than ones that aren't.
And we have
a location picked out.
Yeah, we have a location picked out, but it's not under contract yet, so I don't want to really say. But it's a good location that is close to the parkway and easily accessible and visible.
Wait, do we have any idea? I take it this is not going to be used for local people who have an electric vehicle. I mean, they probably pull in their garage at night, plug it in.
Sure, most do. Statistically, that's the case.
What are the stats on that, Wade?
Usually, you'll have 80 to 90% of charging occurs at home.
Okay.
So most vehicles are 10%. Some are more, depending on their length of travel, that are actually out on the road charging. But you're very correct. I mean, it's targeted more to place them along the major corridors for folks who are traveling.
So if you lived in Jefferson County and were going to Barron River or Dale Hollow,
Sure.
you might stop in Glasgow.
Right.
You drive right by this bypass.
Right. You would be right in the
Or Barron River
location
State Park.
that we'd like to.
Charge up,
Mhm.
get you back home.
Right.
talk a little bit or explain a little bit about how this is really going to benefit the people of Glasgow? Either Wade or Dave.
Yeah, well, I think, for one, there are going to be people in Glasgow that have electric vehicles and may need, the public charging. The other is really just bringing people off the parkway that have electric vehicles into town. And, I think the other is, as a TVA local power company, it's really participating in the program to be, we happen to be on Cumberland Parkway. There's not another TVA when you go that way. We're the last one that's in the TVA area, so we're really the first one for people coming this way that would be in the TVA system. And so I view it as doing our part in the research and development to really see how this works. The bottom line is, I really don't know how anyone can make any real projections as to where this whole electric vehicle thing is going. There's only 1%, not even 1% of the vehicles on the road today, or even being sold maybe, I'm not sure what the status, but are electric vehicles. So we're right at the very beginning stages of it. And for me, anyway, as I look at it as, how can we start to understand what the technology is going to do? How can we understand how people use it? And really the best way is to install a couple of these, take that leap, take that risk from a research and development standpoint, and really see how it ends up working and benefiting the people of Glasgow. There's a chance that it wouldn't. I think it will, just because it's like, okay, instead of people saying, well, Glasgow doesn't have any public charging stations, we'll have them. And, it'll allow us to serve those people traveling to Barren River Lake, even if it isn't the city people who are right here in Glasgow. The other item is that, to our west, Warren Rural Electric and Bowling Green already there's a number of charging stations installed there. So it's more than I thought. I happened to just be in a meeting with the leaders of those two organizations, and I was surprised to hear that they each have several of these stations installed already. So
this, which is the fourth slide, these numbers don't make sense to me. Wade, did you work up this presentation? I'll direct this question to you then. If I do the math, it looks like you could charge your electric vehicle for $5 and drive 250 miles. Am I missing something?
That would be correct.
$5 for 250-mile range. Well, everybody in America will have an electric vehicle. That's the case.
that's what's being said. We'll really see how it ends up working.
There was an interesting statistic that was put out by one of I can't remember which news organization it was, when they started pushing the agenda to actually push towards electric. And the numbers work out. If you convert gasoline, the efficiency of gasoline to electric and charging with current rates, it's about 100 miles to the gallon for an average car. It's crazy. But that's where you're getting that number. It's almost unbelievable, but that's the research what it's showing.
Well, this would make it about 200 miles to
Yeah, I mean,
to a
it's,
gallon at current gas prices.
yeah.
Sure.
So the statistic that they looking at power rates in Glasgow, Kentucky versus looking at power rates in California, looking at power rates in New York, the statistic was nationally that I saw, and they compared 2022 vehicles, electric cars being released in 2022 versus versus gas cars that were released in 2022, and took the average of a comparable size automobile. So, and then the problem is the expense of the electric cars out front. That's the big thing right now. But it was
the
kind of
expense
amazing.
Yeah, the expense of the electric cars up front, plus there's not public places to charge them.
No.
So it's going to be, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. And
We're charging them at home though, off peak hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, the other thing too that I've seen, of course, I I'm a geek, so I follow this kind of stuff, and I love the Teslas. Don't get me Dave started on that one. But they get apps. You got an app on your phone that shows, let's say I wanted to take off and go down to Gulf Shores or something. They got an app, you can sit here and track where the nearest charger is, pull in for 30 minutes, and you're good to go. Which the cool thing about this is, once it gets going, I mean, I can't say where we're gonna put it, but it could bring, I mean, people coming off the parkway, it'd be an asset to an area.
It'd be better in Cave City, though, probably wouldn't.
Yeah, we don't serve
Probably.
Cave City.
I know.
Probably TVA doesn't either, do they?
No,
No.
it doesn't either.
Unless they got over to Warren, the far sides of Warren, but yeah. But hey, we've got something they don't,
Yeah.
so.
I'm in somewhat disbelief about these numbers.
Yeah.
Could you and Wade get the source of some of those?
I'll find that article for
Okay.
you and send it to you, because it was mind-blowing. I mean, it really was. When they started doing the conversion of the BTU factor for the gasoline versus, yeah, it's crazy.
I'm gonna buy a Tesla if those numbers are
I'd
accurate.
be more than happy to drive it for you.
Yeah, you buy it, Josh will drive it.
So, what we charge for these stations, is that $250 for 15 minutes, is that below what our rates are, or how does that even convert to?
It's above, it's well above. I can get you the exact number. And we have to, so, I guess a couple of things. One of the things that we need to decide is what we're gonna charge for when a car is connected, the rate per kilowatt hour or per time interval or whatever. And that's part of it, but it's up to us to price it, and we'll be pricing it, well above our cost, for sure. And it'll include, allowances like you do for overhead and for capital investment and those sorts of things. I would expect that out of the gates, we won't see a lot of use in it from the people charging at these stations for maybe the first year. But, as you look around and start to really notice, the most noticeable electric vehicle is the Tesla. Others, I don't know that you can necessarily distinguish the electric vehicle from the gas-powered vehicle. But if you just look at Teslas, they're showing up more and more. And there's, it's just going to be, and the federal government is mandating, how that all works, but mandating a certain number of electric vehicle sales and also gas efficiency of vehicles. And this is one way that car manufacturers are going to do it, is by converting their fleet to electric. So.
This offer from TVAs, are we under any type of time constraints to let them know this?
No, but I think because there's so much going into, money flowing into this, I'd like to get it done sooner rather than later, simply because right now, if we were to order these chargers, there's what?
We're,
6 week lead time?
no, I mean, we're, the last was 4 months.
Oh, it was that, okay.
Yeah, and they were saying then, hey, if we don't move quick, we're probably looking at 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
Due to the, inflation of people trying to get them out there on their systems right now. And ChargePoint kind of being in the forefront and the leader of
Yeah.
the commercial chargers.
The location of like where you put these chargers, the charging station, I mean, is that something we have to rent that land, or could it be something we would purchase, or?
We could, yeah. We're looking at just an agreement that would be mutually beneficial, would be for us and the landowner.
landowner?
Yeah. Mhm. And it'd be a 5-year contract.
But it would be, there wouldn't be any cost to us for that.
Right.
Or is
That's the proposal.
they would donate the
Right.
location.
Yep. from a lease perspective, not from an own perspective, yeah.
And is that 5 years based on this 5-year minimum from TVA?
Yeah.
How we came up with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Witcher, do you have any questions?
No, I think not.
The agreement with TVA said up to 300,000, but we don't think it's going to cost. Pretty certain we can do it for that 197 or.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And within that agreement, you're speaking on the 300,000, that's 150 per charger is where that number comes from. They're allowing 150,000 per charger, so it would be a total of 300 for our project. And they will pay for everything other than site acquisition, which we're not gonna have, so
Right.
anything we do will be, falling into that 80%.
Yeah. And that includes engineering time, which is Wade's time. It includes, the line work. So a lot of our $40,000 roughly, the 20% is roughly 40,000, 39 for. A lot of that is money that we're spending already with, existing resources on staff. And the out of pocket that would be above and beyond really isn't going to be a whole lot. And
I mean,
the section-
ongoing maintenance and everything,
Yeah.
that's pretty minimal.
And the section of line that needs to have some work done on it, so we're not putting it as part of the project cost, but there's definitely a benefit to the EPB and other customers by making some modifications and maintenance modifications to that line. That would be paid for by this program, basically, so.
But I'll go back to Mr. Pritchard's comment about how it would benefit ratepayers of Glasgow Electric Plant Board. But having said that, the chair will entertain a motion to approve this if.
Make that motion.
I'm not going to second it right now, Marlon, but Josh, can you get me some more information on that?
Yeah, so I've got a stat right here that I
Okay.
just pulled up. So a Tesla, Tesla's the one that's readily out there.
Right.
A Tesla gets 125 miles per gallon E. Okay, so 125 miles, what you do is equivalent to 33.7 kWh is equivalent to 1 gallon of gas. So on 33.7 kWh, a Tesla, I'm assuming this is babying, y'all know how that goes, 125 miles on 33.7
Which is equivalent
kWh.
to
It's equivalent
1
to
gallon.
1 gallon of gas. At 10, let's say average 10 cents a kWh. So $3.37, according to these stats, you can go 129 miles.
right.
So I've not personally seen it, and I've got a lead foot, so I don't know how that would go, but that's the stat on it.
And like you said, that's on the one vehicle. The numbers that I have here was an average,
Yeah.
pool that was provided by the Department of Transportation in a meeting.
Individuals do all types of crazy things with their money, and not that this is a crazy idea, but it seems to me that it's just ahead of its time, and I can't, it's hard for me to justify spending $40,000 when there's no foreseeable payout or real benefit from the ratepayers in Glasgow. So I would just be in favor of just holding off for a little bit on it.
Okay, I mean, and that's.
Yeah, so far you don't have a second to the motion, so there's
Yeah.
not anything to vote on. If there's not a second, then that's it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Dana, are you there?
I feel like new technology, everything's so expensive, and I feel like, it's gonna come down. This project could be done for a lot less, in the not so far future. So I'm in favor of holding off on it for now.
Yeah, I don't know how
That's
long
what
the
it's in.
TVA program is gonna be there, that's the kicker. And
I understand that.
yeah, and I do think, the point, and we'll let it die on the vine, so to speak, but, a lot of the 40,000 is costs that the EPB is already incurring with, our engineering time, lineman time, the vehicles charge out, part of that, all of that is in the cost, and those are costs that are gonna be used someplace. So the fact that we're getting 80% of the project paid for by TVA really means that our net cost, even though we're saying 40,000, the cash out of pocket specifically for this, when it comes to like our share of the charging stations and so on, is less than 40,000. Even though the work order is gonna has Wade's time, our lineman's time, vehicle, line truck's time, those sorts of things that are going to be charged to the work order.
But the charge point, this 142, that's to purchase the.
That's to
charges.
purchase those, yeah.
That's correct. And the site prep and concrete work, EPB won't be doing
We won't be
much
doing
of that.
no, but we're doing a lot of a lot of line work and engineering, so our costs are in that 55,000.
Okay. All right, the next item is the superintendent's reports, and Jay will just turn it over to you.
Okay, this first item is the fuel cost adjustment, and May's fuel cost adjustment is down slightly to 2.299 cents per kilowatt hour. April was 2.324 cents, so it's a slight drop. However, the May fuel rate is 44% higher than the 3-year average, and that's just because we're continuing to see commodity prices are higher, and also the 3-year time frame includes COVID impacts, which there was a point in time when commodity prices were extremely low. So the comparison point is lower maybe than if you looked at a 10-year average or a 5-year average, but it's 44% higher than that moving 3-year average right now. The other thing I really wanted to point out, though, is that this is a new paragraph, different from last month, the second paragraph, and it's pointing out, TVA is pointing out that recently there's been an upward and volatile movement in commodity markets that may contribute to an increased cost pressure to the total monthly fuel cost in upcoming months. Due to the activity in commodity markets and the timing of TMFC releases, TVA anticipates that actual fuel expenses in April and May will be under-recovered and trued up in June through September. We also believe higher fuel costs will be reflected in future fuel rates, ultimately leading to higher summer total monthly fuel costs. So they're more or less warning us that there's going to be some higher fuel cost adjustments coming, and looking back to when they get the final pricing, if they're going to have to make some upward adjustments. And that's not typical of what we see in this
I didn't
release,
think
so-
we'd have to say more or less. I think they are.
Yeah, well, they are,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but anyway, for purposes of right now, the May fuel cost adjustment is 2.299 cents. The next item is the outage report. The first graph, the far right brown bar is we had 15 outages in March. And if you take a look at the next one, which outlines it by cause, you got, I'll go to the other, which is where most of the outages were in other. We had 4 of those were scheduled outages, so in the 15, 4 of those were scheduled outages that we had to take customers out of power to do maintenance work. 2 of those under other were car pole accidents. We had 2 car pole accidents in the month of March. Also kind of an anomaly, at least recently, is we had 3 tree incidents, and that's not been typical because we've been doing a really good job with tree trimming, and so you don't see very many tree outages these days, but we had some high winds.
Excessive winds.
Yeah, in March, so we saw a couple there. A couple of equipment outages due to, I think those were cutout failures, some animal outages, and then one that was unknown, so.
Dave, let me ask you, you mentioned high winds, and we've certainly had that, but how do you decide whether that goes into weather or trees? The weather causes the trees to blow down, and
Yeah, if it's a tree, it's a tree. You know, if a tree comes down, yeah. All right, and then the last item, so this is in your packet, there's the bid package for the customer service remodel. And what we did is we worked with an agency that has done some design work for another utility, local utility, and did a really great job with redesigning their lobby, and we've asked them to put some plans together for us to redesign ours, and the purpose of the redesign is twofold. One is if we end up with, in this pandemic situation again in the future, we'll be able to keep the lobby open, hopefully during that entire time, because it'll be a separation of employees and the public, and also just from a physical safety standpoint, to be shatter-resistant, bullet-resistant glass, as well as other security measures taken, so that it just creates a more secure environment. And we do have video footage of things that have gone on in our lobby over the years, the customer service lobby, that, those incidents I don't feel are going to naturally go down. I think they're would increase over time. And so we just felt that this was a good time to look at redoing our lobby. So if you turn to Exhibit A, in the page right after the cover sheet that says Exhibit A, just kind of quickly run through some of what's being proposed. You got the demolition of, we're going to remove desks and cabinets. We've got a portion of the brick wall that's going to come out. We've got some other items that are going to be removed. And then also on the outside, we're going to take, we're removing some of the landscaping on the north and east side of the building, because we're going to add new parking spots. So we're moving the grassy area that's on the, I guess it's really the east side of the building, for new parking spots. And then some of the additions are just new customer service desks, new parking areas. We're going to add a second lane for we're going to add a cover over the kiosk that could become a second drive-through lane at some point, but we anticipate that with the lobby open, the drive-through lane will just be less busy, but we'll monitor that and decide if, at a future date, if we need to add a second drive-through lane. And then we're going to, customer service would be partitioned off from creating a hallway where EPB employees would be walking back and forth behind the scenes without really being visible by what's going on in the customer service lobby. Right now, the foot traffic coming into the lobby, and the daily business of EPB employees is all walking through the same lobby. So we're going to divide that up. So that's the demo and the additions. Outside, we're going to be adding some new landscaping, adding 6 new parking spots on the east side of the building with handicap accessibility, and really creating a new entrance on that northeast side that is right next to the existing drive-through entrance. And just everything for customers will all be on that side of the building, the drive-through and the customer entrance and so on. So that's all the verbiage, and then if you turn to Exhibit B, that's a picture of what we have going on. So if you look at Exhibit B, the lines that are in black are existing and they're staying as is. There's some light gray up at the top of the page where it says demo. That's a brick wall, a couple of brick walls that are going to be removed. And then green are essentially new walls that are going to be, or proposed to go in place. That's the green lines. And then blue are the new desks and partitions that would be going in. So essentially what we're doing is we're flipping the way customer service sits. They'll be facing the other direction, and the foot traffic will be coming in the other way.
I'm sorry, you're not done yet.
Yeah. We'll just go through one more, the Exhibit C, and that's a looking, pulling back away. The pink box on the left-hand side is the same as, that's Exhibit B. And then looking at the rest of the building, you can see over on the right-hand side in blue are the new parking spots. That's a grassy area right now, and that's going to be parking, and then be a walkway introduced, and the new door where customers would come in is, right now it's just windows. So what we're, right now this is out for bids, and we have a pre-bid meeting coming up next week, I believe, and then we will, when we get the final bids, we would bring them back to the board and decide if we're going to move forward with the project or not at that time. But I think from a safety standpoint, in today's world, it's in updating our lobby and flow of traffic and again with the pandemic, just allowing us to stay more in business to serve the public. This is a proposal that I think is really worth considering.
David, we commented about this because I'm a part owner in a business that, on a much smaller scale, that did the same thing this past year. We already had plans to do it for safety reasons because our clerks were literally face-to-face with customers. Some of them, at times unruly, would grab a bottle of water or Coke and drink out of it that belonged to an employee of mine, and yelled and thrown things, and it's just a really unnerving situation. And then COVID hit, and we basically were shut down because we don't have a drive-through. So we spent just on the remodel of the office and the safety vestibule where they come in and be through glass and so forth. Just on that part, around $70-some thousand. And then the added benefit, aside from the safety and being able to stay open for business, is that there's a big morale booster for the staff. You know, they felt better about being in a newly remodeled office. It was clean and neat, and it was so. I'll be interested to see the bids, but this is something that I think is a really good idea. We'll have that by the next meeting.
That's the goal. Yeah. My understanding is we will.
This is a project that I'm willing to spend ratepayers' money on because I spent my own money on the same thing, so that's a good idea. Any other questions for Dave on
Are there any
the
plans
plans?
to open the lobby anytime soon, or?
Well, because we're going to be, if we approve this at the next meeting, we're basically going to be
Right.
entering the construction phase, and so we'll have to be moving customer service. And I'm not sure if we'll end up with walk-in traffic at that point or not.
I think the idea of opening it back up and shutting it back down again for the construction,
Yeah.
if it's approved. And I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's why we've started looking at this, and it took a little longer than I thought it would to get to this point of getting bids, but only by maybe 2 or 3 months. And I made the decision along with Melanie to just keep the lobby closed and not have it open and then closed again. And so, the drive-through's been working okay. It does get backed up at times. And once this remodel is done, if we do it, it'll end up with just a lot better options for customers to work with us, so.
Barney, you have any other question? Any, agenda item 6, is any new or old business to come before the board tonight?
I don't have any.
Hearing none, well, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second. Made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.